Last chance to see those tattoos is the 11th episode of the second season of 2.5 Men. It's directed by Pamela Fryman, and there will be spoilers from now as I discuss this episode. And this is an episode I remember very, very vividly. As I've mentioned quite a bit recently, I used to binge watch 2.5 Men in around about 2010, 2011. I would watch it constantly. And then over the years, I just kind of fell out of it, didn't really watch a lot of it. So there are some episodes, now that I'm rewatching it, that I really remember. Some not so much. This one I remember very, very well. As I said, there will be spoilers as I talk about this and mention some things that I like and things that I don't like. I don't really think there's anything in this that didn't work, though. It's generally a very good episode. It starts off with Charlie at the bar. He's flirting with a woman called Gail. Alan comes along and cramps his style. Gail leaves. Obviously, Charlie's not happy about this. Alan is very happy because he has just bought some webcams. And he's going to use the webcams to see Jake when he's not there, which is a pretty neat thing. If it gives anybody who doesn't live with their children a nice suggestion, then that's pretty great. Although the episode does serve as a lesson in making sure you turn off your webcam. And I'll get into that in a little bit. Gail then comes back to Charlie and asks if he's Charlie Harper. And he says yes, and she talks to what we assume is a bunch of women off to the side, and they're laughing, and there's clearly something funny about this, but we don't know what it is. We leave it for the moment. Alan is setting up his webcam while Charlie confides in Rose. And we have a really lovely moment that I rather enjoyed with Rose at Charlie's instruction using the stairs rather than climbing up. And it's a really sweet moment because Charlie says, "We're friends now, aren't we? You're no longer this crazy stalker." I can't remember the exact phrase he used. And it's kind of that acknowledgement that Charlie and Rose are friends. And I thought that was really lovely. And she uses the stairs, and he asks her if women talk about the people they've slept with. And Jake, just before he ends his video call with Alan, happens to mention that he Googled his Uncle Charlie, and you'll never guess what he found. And then he has to go in the bath. And Alan goes off on a tangent about how he Googled himself, but Charlie, of course, is fixated on finding out what comes up when he Googles his own name. And he does this, and we have a website called charlieharpersucks.com. And we actually get to see it. They did make the effort to make this website and give us something visual to look at. Not in any great detail, but we get to see a picture of Charlie on the screen. And I'm so sure that this used to be a real website. It is. I just paused this at the Wayback Machine. I was not misremembering it. I will probably put a screenshot of this as part of the thumbnail for this, or at least on the screen. But that definitely gave me strong flashbacks to this episode. And this is basically an I Hate Charlie Harper website where women he slept with are posting things about him and tearing him apart, and he becomes obsessed with it and he feels like he needs to do something. The website is really detailed. There's a forum on there. You can actually see it if you go onto Wayback Machine, and there's a poem and some other things, and it's pretty fun and very nostalgic. And they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to go that extent to actually create the website, but it definitely makes things a little bit more realistic and a little bit more awesome. While Charlie is worried about this, he steps away from the computer, and Alan happens to see Judith in Jake's bedroom because Jake hasn't turned off his webcam, and Judith is on the phone to her mother, and she mentions that she still loves Alan. And Alan overhears this, and he overhears Judith telling her mother that she will ask if he'll take her back. And of course, Alan begins to worry about this because he doesn't know how to respond to this. If Judith asks him, should he say yes? Should he say no? It's a bit of a dilemma. Berta ends up giving him this dead dog metaphor, which is kind of clever, kind of strange, but it works very well. And she offers to show Alan her tattoos, which is where the title comes from. While all that's going on, Charlie is apologising to people he slept with. He's doing this clearly not out of guilt for never calling them again, but because he's trying to find the person who set up the website, hoping he'll make amends, and then the website will get shut down. He really didn't think that through. I think it became very apparent immediately what was going to happen, and that's the people he slept with, again, to make amends, we're going to post on the Charlie Harper website saying he's just been here, we had a lovely time, he apologised, and it didn't occur to him that they would all be saying the same thing. Women talk, he's established this already. So he didn't think that through, and it went exactly as I would have expected. But then I think there was an element of surprise, and I'll come back to that in a second. But first of all, we need to deal with Alan and Judith, and I think that went the way it was expected as well. I really, as soon as Judith said, yes, I still love him, I think it was very obvious that she was saying that to make her mother happy, or to make her mother shut up, or whatever it was she was trying to do, because obviously her mother is constantly getting on at her about her failed marriage. And I think the way the conversation played out with Alan and Judith was pretty great. I really enjoyed it. And also I think it's really great that Alan had what he thought was an opportunity to go back to his marriage, and he decided no, he wasn't going to do that. And I think that's some really nice character development. We haven't had that much character development, well, for anybody really, over the last 1.5 seasons. But to see Alan finally in a place where he's ready to try and move on rather than clinging to his failed marriage, I think is really important. And I think the timing is pretty good. So that worked very well. And then, of course, we have the brilliant scene at the end on the deck with Charlie and Rose. And Charlie realises he's never apologised to Rose either. And he apologises, and it seems sincere. I think Charlie's apology to Rose genuinely felt sincere. And she pulls out what she refers to as a web browser email gadget. This was in 2004. I'm trying to think when I got my first smartphone, and smartphone is not the right word. It was an internet compatible phone, but it wasn't a smartphone. I think that would have been about 2006 maybe, so definitely a few years after 2004. It's just incredible to think that even 2004 smartphones and internet access on the go wasn't really a big thing, to the extent where Rose explains that it's a web browser email gadget. But then again, 2004 was 20 years ago. That's incredible. Either way, she pulls out this gadget, and then all we see in the background is the computer screen, and the Charlie Harper sucks.com website closes down. And of course, we are meant to infer from that Rose was behind the website. And I just thought it was a really fun way to end things, and I rather enjoyed it a lot. It's a good episode. It might not be the funniest episode of all time, but it is still pretty great, and as I said, very memorable. I could remember it very, very well. Last Chance to See Those Tattoos is definitely a really good episode.